There are many change workers who think we need to wait until we have our act figured out before we help other people. And I want to debunk that lie in this call. And I was saying before I realized I was unmuted that one of the beauties of doing this as a clubhouse room is that if this room totally bombs, I can delete it and make it disappear. And the only people who know I bombed are the people who are here with me right now. So this might be a little bit of a vulnerable conversation because I'm in the middle of a life face punch as we speak. And it's interesting because even as I start to say that, I realize it, like, that's such a dramatization. Things are like, when you're right in the middle of something, it seems so much bigger and so much more serious than it really is. And I know that I'll look back on this moment probably even in a few hours or a few days and realize it wasn't as big of a deal as I thought. So I'll tell you a little bit the history. I'll set the stage for what's going on in my life right now. And the purpose of this is not to complain or gripe. It's to hopefully help you recognize something of yourself in what I'm going through. So when you think about it, you can be like, okay, Lori dealt with this and this is what she did. And if Lori can do it, I can do it, because there is absolutely nothing special about me. I mean, we're all special, right? But there's nothing in me that is not also available to you. So I had this mountaintop experience on Sunday. I just had this incredible moment where I wrapped up a 20-week project. It's something that I've just been working on intensely. And I know many of you who are here in this room know what I'm talking about. If you're watching me on YouTube, it means I published this video. And if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my phone and I'm speaking to a room full of people inside Clubhouse. So I finished this massive 20-week project, and it was just this beautiful mountaintop experience. At the end, it finished with a call at 11 o'clock, I'm sorry, at noon my time. And at the end of the call, everyone on the call, there were 40 some people on the call, and they stood up and gave me a standing ovation, which was like the pinnacle of my career to date. And it was just an amazing thing. And a few days prior, I had signed up for a coaching program where I'm going to have a team of coaches showing me how to up level in my business, how to meet some big business goals. And I'm so excited about it. And I'm looking at, like, it feels like Christmas morning where you're unwrapping these gifts and you're seeing all these cool things that are in store. And one of the things that the facilitator of this program said is, when people sign up for this experience, they often, life is going to, I don't think he said punch them in the face. And I personally, I'm not sure I approve of or endorse what he said, because I think when we tell someone, oh, this, your life is going to be turned upside down and shaken like a snow globe as soon as you sign up for this thing, I don't think that's a great hypnotic suggestion. However, I do think it was useful because it helped me realize, okay, if something comes up that sucks, I'm going to realize that that's just an obstacle that has been placed there to keep me from moving forward. And whatever the purpose is for that obstacle, I do not know. I don't know if it's some kind of an ethereal force that is trying to keep us from making a difference in the world. I don't know if it's our own imposter monster trying to keep us playing small, or what it is. But as I'm on the brink of this mountaintop experience, I have a conversation with a person who I love with all my heart, who said something to me that hurt really bad. It's like something that cut to the quick. And I immediately, and I do this so often when I'm having conversations or, doing things in my life, I think, okay, if all the people who follow me on social media, if all the people who join my Zoom calls, if the people who see public facing Lori Hammond could see me now. And again, the reason I want to call this to your attention is because I want you to realize none of us has arrived. But in that moment, I just lost it. Like I started, I don't know if I yelled, but I was angry, and like old Lori was triggered, and I started just acting like old angry Lori. And I thought, what oh man, I am not as arrived as I think I am. I really suck. And just starting to beat myself up and thinking, oh, this hypnosis stuff doesn't work, which I do regularly. And then I realize, okay, I can step out of this and I can go back into the Lori that I know that I can be. And here's where I try to decide if I'm going to talk about parts work a little bit. For those of you who haven't heard me talk about parts work, I'll try to just do this really briefly, because this is something that has liberated me so much in my journey. Forward-facing Lori, public-facing Lori, the Lori that you see on this video right now, the Lori that you've seen on my other videos or in my Zoom calls, if you've been on my Zoom calls, that is the real Lori. Like, this is true, real, authentic me. Angry Lori, who was pissed and acting like a total brat last night, that is the real Lori too. And I wish it wasn't. I wish I could say, oh, like all of me has arrived. But if you look at this in the context of neuroscience, and I see this with my grandbabies, it's just so fascinating for me to watch as my grandbabies become one of my grandbabies is almost a year old and the other one is just over 2 years old, and I watch the way they observe other people and try on those behaviors for themselves. I watched my oldest grandbaby, my 2-year-old grandbaby, yesterday, and I wanted to play. I was rolling a ball back and forth, and we had been kicking the ball like a soccer ball, and then I sat down to roll the ball and she goes, "No, stand up." And I responded, in my sweet grandma voice, I said, "Let's roll the ball back and forth." And she gives me this stern look and she starts wagging her finger at me. And she says, "Lilu," because that's what she calls me, because I don't love the idea of being called grandma. She says, "Lilu, you stand up right now." And I thought, where did she learn this? Because I don't think her parents, her parents are just so gentle and precious with her. And I thought, who has taught her to wag her finger and shout at someone? And I was amused more than anything. But, we have all learned how to be the way we are by modeling someone else at some point in our life. And I actually grew up in a really hostile, angry environment. Something I don't share very often is when I was 15 years old, my mom woke me up at 5 o'clock in the morning, standing over my bed with a friend of hers, a family friend, who I also kind of considered a friend and mentor for myself. So it was a really humiliating experience for me. And she had brought that friend there because she thought when she told me what she was going to tell me that I would run away from home. And she woke me up and told me that she was sending me to a teenage rehab center. And it wasn't like a drug rehab. I had actually never done drugs in my life, even though she thought that I was. It was basically a boarding school for bad kids. It was called Teen Challenge Christian Academy, if any of you have ever heard of that. And they're all adult facilities now, I believe, but that was one of the last facilities for teenagers. And it was in Sundance, Wyoming. And I was being sent there because I had a rage problem. I wasn't just angry, I would just lose it. And a lot of that was because, and I'm not saying this as an excuse for myself, I'm saying it more as the reason is that I witnessed rage in my entire life. Growing up, I saw my mom filled with rage, my dad filled with rage, and I just, it was the only emotion that I was really familiar with utilizing. And so when I went to this facility, and I was there for, I think, about 18 months, I was all of a sudden in a new environment, and I wasn't in a place where I could act out the way I used to. And I'm actually like a shy introvert, so I would never act that way publicly. And so being in a group of my peers and not being triggered in the way that I had been triggered before, it was really interesting for me to see, oh, I'm not always angry, Lori. And I remember the first time I got mad at someone, and it was the school teacher. And so the way the school was set up is we had these little cubicles, and we each sat in a little cubicle and did self-paced work. And then there was basically this one teacher would just kind of stand over us and walk around and make sure we were doing our work and boss us around. And I think she probably loved us and wanted to help, but she pissed us off regularly. And I remember the first time she said something that just made me so mad, and I started bawling. And I was literally confused. I thought, why am I crying? I don't understand why I'm crying. And after a few weeks or maybe even a few months, I realized I'm crying because this is the only way I can express the frustration inside in a way that's appropriate for this situation. And so it was like anger coming out as tears. So I'm not sure what I definitely did not plan on going on that side tangent. But what I want you to understand, and I know many of you who are in this Clubhouse room understand, so hopefully someone, if you're watching this YouTube video and you're new to this idea, I hope this really gives you some aha moments. Every one of these ways that we show up in the world, whether it's angry or sad or happy or joyful or patient, whatever it is, these are actually wired in neural pathways that we created as children. And you can think of these as different parts of us. So if you think about, I was on a walk the other day and I bumped into one of my neighbors. I'm kind of new in this neighborhood. And I bumped into one of my neighbors and we had this friendly conversation. I was feeling cheerful. I was asking her questions about the neighborhood. She was oversharing about all my neighbors. And it was this great experience. And so the way I was showing up with that neighbor is authentic Lori, but it's happy, cheerful, somewhat outgoing Lori, which is not, I am introverted as can be. And then, if you think about the way you would interact if you were getting ready to go to a job interview, you would be much more serious, much more, really infuse confidence into that conversation. You're going to show up in a different way in every different situation. And this is not being inauthentic. All these different ways of showing up in the world are authentically you. And this is why the phrase "fake it till you make it" really frustrates me. Because if you have ever experienced confidence, even for a moment in yourself, it means that it is an aspect of your personality. It is one of those wired in neural pathways, which in the context of hypnotherapy, people will often refer to as parts. These are different parts of us. I have an angry part. I have a happy part. I have a sad part. We have all these different parts of our personality. And neuroscience shows that each of us has between 100 and 130 different ways of showing up in the world, different states, different parts, different neural pathways. Those are different ways of saying the same thing. So the reason I created this room was to give you a tool. And one of my favorite things about this, and this is where I really want you to listen, if you're a person who wants to make a difference in the world, one of my favorite things about what I'm about to show you is the reason I'm showing you now is because this is a real-time thing that I'm dealing with. This is something that I did last night when I was in a pissy mood to start to feel better. And it's something that you can utilize right away. And as I share this with you, it's going to help this be a resource that's even stronger in my toolbox. Speaking of toolbox, if you're watching me on YouTube, you can see that my thumb is black. I washed my hands right before I came into this room, and the black isn't off all the way, but I'll tell you why in a moment. So last night, I had this conversation with the person I love. They hurt my feelings. At the same time, simultaneously, my middle daughter, who's living here for a few weeks while she transitions to the place that she's going to move to about an hour away in a few weeks, and she's staying with me while she's getting everything lined up, getting daycare lined up for her precious baby. And we just moved her room into my office, and we were going to move my office into my guest room. Long story about why, but there's a good reason for it. So we get all her stuff up here, and all her stuff is in my living room. And I kind of have this thing, I have this story that I tell myself about how important it is for me to have like a clean, nice environment, to have things picked up, to not have a lot of clutter all over the place. And it looks like a hurricane has hit the main area of my house. And so we bring all this stuff into my office. We get my stuff out of the office and bring it downstairs, but it's not, it's not in the right room. We're just kind of staging everything to get it set up. And I go to move my modem into the room in the basement, and it doesn't work. and I test every freaking jack in my house. And I think there are probably like 8 of them. And I don't know what they're called. It's the little screwy anything where I screw in my modem. The only one that works in my whole house is inside this bedroom where I'm sitting right now. Actually, I'm standing right now. And so I'm here. I'm just going to show you what I'm looking at right now. I don't usually do this, but if you're on YouTube, this bed is right next to me. There is a bag of clothes on the floor. It's just upheaval. And I would like to tell myself a story that means that life is just chaotic right now. And of course, today is the first day of my coaching call, and now my camera won't focus. Okay, it just focused as I said that. Today is the first day of that coaching call for that program I signed up for. And it's like all that excitement and motivation that I felt about getting on this call are down the drain. And I'm thinking, oh, this is gonna be so frustrating. So last night, when I was just feeling hot, I was feeling disappointed with myself. I was feeling hot as in hot-tempered. I was annoyed that I had behaved the way I had behaved, and that old Lori had. So when you think about all these different aspects of our personality, you can imagine. So if we each have about 100 different ways that we can show up in the world, you can think of all those different parts of our personality as kids in a classroom. And the rule of this classroom, and this is a neuroscience principle, is that only one kid can stand in front of the classroom at a time. So if angry Lori is in front of the classroom, rational Lori is sitting down. And so I was pissed that pissed Lori had been in the front of the classroom. And I noticed that I was breathing angrily. I caught a glimpse of my face in the mirror, and I had this pursed, like my lips were pursed in this angry way that I remember. Like when I looked in the mirror, I just saw my grandma, who was a kind of an angry lady at times. She experienced anger sometimes, and she had those pursed lips all the time. And I'm like, oh man, I'm crabby. And I was disappointed with myself. And I have all these thoughts going through my head that align with the idea of just screw it. Just screw it. Like I keep trying to do stuff and it never works. And I'm just on this pity party, which isn't even true. When we're in a state, we can only remember the thoughts that have gone through our head when we were in that state before. We forget about all the awesome things that are happening. We forget about all the beautiful opportunities in our life. And we just think the thoughts that we thought the last time this kid was in the front of the classroom. So even though like I have an amazing, amazing life. I have an amazing family. I have amazing relationships, but all I could think about is how much my life sucked and how I was just going to throw in the towel. Again, I am sharing this for you. So hopefully this resonates for you, and you'll remember next time. I'm just going to future pace you right now. Next time you feel like that, you'll remember this conversation and have a tool to step out of it. And so I was laying in bed and I was having conversations with that person in my mind. I was trying to figure out how I was going to solve this modem issue in my mind. I'm doing all this stuff. And again, I became aware of how like the tension in my chest, the shallow, rapid breathing that I was experiencing. And I just started telling myself, you are okay. I started using Louise Hay's mantra, this is one of my favorite mantras. If you're where you can write this down, this has been one of the most healing things in my life. When I can't think of anything nice to say to myself, when I can't think of anything that could inspire hope, I will say this that I learned from Louise Hay. All is well. And it doesn't freaking feel like all is well, but you can say it anyway, because the most powerful words in the universe are the words you speak to yourself. I think Marie Forleo says that. And when you start to say all is well, all of a sudden you start to chill out a little bit. And then the next part is everything is working out for my highest good. And again, it didn't feel like it, but I said it anyway. Out of this situation, only good will come. And one of my favorite things about what I'm doing right now is when I walked in here, I said at the start of this room, I was late because I couldn't find my phone. My house, it looks like a bomb went off. I will tell you why I have black stuff on my fingers in a moment. And it's like, I didn't even want to be here. And I thought, this is going to be the shortest room ever. I'm just going to tell them what I did. But as I speak and I'm saying everything is working out for my highest good, like I'm preaching to myself. And I'm realizing to myself, if I just keep showing up when I don't feel like it, if I just keep showing up when I let pissed Lori stand in the front of the classroom, and I go ahead and just love on her and say, it's okay, pissed Lori. You can be pissed and be okay, and let rational Lori step back to the front of the classroom. The next part of that mantra, and I think I said this already, out of this situation, only good will come. And maybe some of that is in this presentation that I'm doing right now. And then the last part is, I am safe. And sometimes I'll just repeat that to myself over and over and over. I am safe. Because so often when we act out in fear or sadness, or we worry about someone, or we go into the future and have conversations, we think about our modem and how are we going to get hooked to the internet? It's because, underneath we don't feel safe. And when we just tell ourselves, I am safe, I am safe. And then in addition to that, I just started to notice what was happening right now. So when you say all is well, to me, that brings me into the present moment. Another mantra you could plug in is, I am here. And all of a sudden I was in my nice, comfortable bed. I could feel my soft sheets against my skin. I could feel the weight of my comforter on my shoulder. I could feel the pillow beneath my head. And I was in that moment. And in that moment, everything was okay. That person wasn't saying that thing to me. I wasn't having to observe the hurricane state of my house. Like, I was in that moment. And when we let ourselves be here now, it's so transformational. So I'm going to quickly walk you through this. One of my favorite ways to do this is what I call the 3x3. And I've taught this before, but I want to walk you through it right now. And I invite you, like, if you're here anyways, it doesn't take any extra time or any extra effort to actually participate as it does to listen and say, I'll do this later. So I double dare you to participate with me. The only exception would be if you happen to be listening while you're driving. We zone out all the time when we drive, so I'm not super worried about it, to be honest, but just to be on the safe side, listen to this again when you're home and do it while you're not driving. But what I'd like you to do is just focus your eyes on a point that is in front of you and just a little bit above your line of vision. You're not straining your eyes to look up. You're not cranking your neck up. You're just gently lifting your eyes above parallel. And just find one spot to focus on. And just gaze at that spot intently and intensely, almost as if you could look right through it. So if you imagine seeing somebody do this, it would look like they're zoning out. That's what I'm asking you to do, is just kind of zone out and look at that spot. If you allow your jaw to soften and your teeth to slightly separate, it makes it easier. I know that's a kind of a weird tip, but it's very true. And you can even allow your tongue to rest on the floor of your mouth. And as you continue to gaze at that spot, I just want you to name 3 things you can notice with your peripheral vision. So keeping your eyes there, just notice 3 objects you see with your peripheral vision. Good. And now as you continue to stare at that spot, I invite you just to notice 3 sounds you can hear and just name those sounds in your mind. I'll be quiet for a bit because this might take a little longer to find 3 unique sounds. Perhaps becoming aware of sounds you didn't notice a moment ago. And as you continue to gaze at that spot, just become aware of 3 things you can feel. And may I recommend just noticing the way it feels to be supported by the surface beneath you. Whether you're standing, sitting, lying down, you can feel the weight of your body being supported by that surface. Notice the sensation of your clothing against your skin. Notice the position of your teeth. And if your teeth aren't slightly separated, just go ahead and unhinge your jaw and just allow your teeth to relax as you now think to yourself, I am here. Notice the way those 3 simple words allow your body to relax even more. And so it's as simple as this. I think that complicated is the enemy of completion. And I think the more simple and easy we keep things, the more profoundly healing it could be. And when you notice yourself in a state, when you notice yourself having a kid in the front of the classroom that isn't serving you, when you notice yourself thinking those doom and gloomy thoughts that go along with that kid who's in the front of the classroom, you can just bring yourself, you can ask that kid very gently and kindly to go sit down by just doing this exercise. And again, it's called the 3x3. That's what I call it. I learned this from Melissa Tears. It's a combination of things I've learned from other people, so I'm not taking credit for it. But if you just zone out, and even if you don't zone out, sometimes I'll do this in the grocery store. I'll just start to notice 3 things I'll name with my mouth or with my mind, 3 things I can see, 3 things I can hear, and 3 things I can feel. And for me, that first one is always the feeling of being supported by the surface beneath me. So I can feel this as I'm walking in the grocery store. I can feel the floor underneath my feet. I hope that's helpful. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to talk about the 3 Bs. And since I just said it, I'm going to throw this out really quickly. This is a bonus. So this is a bonus off switch, and it's actually built into the one I just told you, but it's even quicker than the 3x3. And that is, every kid in the classroom has their own set of 3 Bs, and they're unique and individual to every kid. And if you're having a hard time switching kids in the classroom, like if you're angry and you don't know how to get angry kid to sit down, there's a shortcut that you can do to let angry kids sit down and let patient kids stand up, or whatever kid is appropriate for that situation. And I recommend to first start just by acknowledging, you can just acknowledge, okay, angry kid is in the front of the classroom right now. So often when we try to resist something, and here's another fun piece of neuroscience, when you experience an emotion that goes along with a state, so when a person experiences anger, it actually takes 90 seconds for those anger chemicals to wash through the body and dissipate and release. And if a person experiences anger for any longer than that, it's because they're resisting it or they're repeating it. So we're staying angry, or we're trying to not be angry, which is making us angrier. So when you just simply acknowledge and say, I am angry, or you could notice how anger feels in the body, and then imagine you just look at that part of the body and say, I see you. I see you. Something really amazing happens. And I'm not going to tell you this is easy in the moment. I don't know if I could have done this last night when I was just raging. But that the first step could be just an acknowledgement of where you are. And then you shift the 3 Bs. And the 3 Bs, are you ready for how easy this is? I want you to realize when I tell you how simple this is, that it doesn't mean that it's not incredibly profound and can change your life. So the 3 Bs are body language, breathing, and belief. And that one might not seem easy, but all beliefs is the words that we recycle in our mind, the thoughts that we think when we are in that state that is held in place with your body language and your breathing. So if you were to just shift your body language, change your breathing, and if you're angry or anxious, the most useful thing you can do is let your exhale be longer than your inhale. So let out a long, slow sigh of relief. Allow your body language to shift in a way that just lets you release tension in the body. And it can be really beneficial to look up slightly, to lift your eyes up, because that gets us in a future focus. It sends optimism signals to the brain and the body, and it helps you step out of that anger or sadness or whatever it is that you were experiencing, to just simply look up, let yourself relax, shift your breathing. If you're feeling depressed, you kind of want to do the opposite and let your inhales become stronger. So if you're angry, let your exhales become long and relaxed. And if you're feeling depressed or down, you can let your inhales become more vigorous, and it's going to immediately enliven the body. And then that third piece, that belief part, all that is your recycled self-talk. And if you can't think of anything positive to say, you can just start to say, all is well. Everything is working out for my highest good. Out of this situation, only good will come, and I am safe. And I have been thinking about ways that I can start using open loops inside my YouTube videos, something that I say at the beginning that makes people listen all the way to the end. And I feel like I kind of accidentally did that on this one, because I told you I'm going to tell you why my thumb is black. I don't know if you can see that. So I have been so excited because I have a fairly big empty space in my basement, which is full of crap right now, but anyways. And I found this indoor trampoline for my grandbabies, and it just came. I was on the phone with the internet company saying, can you please help me figure out why my wall ports aren't working and help me fix it. And they transferred me over and over and over again to people who could not understand that my modem works just fine. I said it over and over and over. My modem is working. It's my wall ports that aren't working. And so we transferred. And at that time, I see a truck pull up to my house. And I thought, my trampoline is here. And these two big, strong men carry it from it, it's in a box disassembled, and they carry it up to my front porch. And then I open my door and I carry the box in all by myself, which I like feeling strong. So rather than ask someone else for help, and this could be a pro or a con, I brought the box in by myself and congratulated myself. And so I wanted to real quick just bring the parts downstairs. And rather than try to lug the whole box down, I was taking them out one at a time. And when I took the last load, just as I was getting up here and I was looking for my phone, I realized my hands were black. So I washed my hands, and I didn't do a sufficient job, but that is the reason my hands are black. And I'm so grateful for you all. Mark, Ram, Amanda, Jeff, Stephen, Marianne, Gail, Janice, thank you so much for being here. It makes it so much more fun and easy for me to do these videos when there's people here in Clubhouse and I can connect with you and imagine that there's real people on the other side. It can be really hard talking to a screen. So thank you for being here. Jeff is coming up to the stage, so I'm actually going to say goodbye in YouTube because I haven't figured out how to cast what Jeff is saying into the video. So I'm going to say goodbye to you. Thank you so much for watching. I double dare you to subscribe to my channel and leave a comment below. And if you loved this, share it with someone. I'm on a mission to see how quickly my channel can go viral, and I would love you to help me with that. Have a beautiful day.